This conference will now be recorded.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. At this time, I'll call the Board of Water Wastewater Commissioners meeting agenda for Thursday, May 6th, 2021 at 1:30 p.m. to order. Dan, who else is on the call with us? I think Wellesley's on, right? No, Wellesley's not on. I can't hear you, Dan.
Just us four.
Okay. Do you have any lights on in your office? You're awful dark.
I do.
Oh, all right.
Might be the
All right.
turn the blinds
Like a
down.
shadow back there. All right. Well, it looks like today's all we have today is new business regarding the town meeting articles and the rules and regulations for the public hearing date. So Dan, do you want to take us through the articles?
Yeah, let me, I did a quick PowerPoint, so let me just activate my screen here. All right. Is the screen showing?
It's loading.
Yep. All right, great.
All right, there we go.
So jumping right in here. There we go, perfect. So our first article on this weekend's warrant is the Water Department budget. So our budget this year for FY22 totals $4,223,405. Just for those who may be following along at home, I just wanted to point out and reflect that our budget ask this year is reflects a negative 1.58% decrease in comparison to our FY21 operating budget. So that is consistent with the Board of Selectmen's level funding budget request for this upcoming fiscal year. Going on to Article 8 is our wastewater operating budget. So this totals $515,331, and that reflects really putting the system online and starting to take on operation and maintenance of our collection system, as well as funding for our obligations with Chatham through our intermunicipal agreement. So the next, we skip down quite a few down to Article 23, where we get to the land acquisition project for the protection of our water supply. Our funding request for that is $175,000. So the Harwich Water Department is seeking to acquire 5 parcels, all with an address of 0 Chatham Road, and they're identified as owners unknown parcels. The 5 parcels are directly adjacent to our well field here on Chatham Road and total about 7.67 acres. The appraised value for the 5 parcels is approximately $150,000. The request of $175,000 is intended to include the acquisition of the parcels, as well as costs incidental to for deed research, legal and other costs. The great part about this article is that we are going to be reimbursed at 100% from the Cape Cod Commission's DRI grant. So I did speak with the commission earlier this week, just to touch base. We spoke a few months back when we discovered the funding was available. So they are on board, and we are ready to move forward with the project, assuming town meeting approves it. So, and just on the map here, just for those following along, the orange circles are the zone 1 for the 7 wells that are located on the Chatham Road well field. So those orange circles are the area in normal non-drought conditions that the water is pumped from. And then you see the larger blue circles in there, which is our zone 2 wellhead protection areas. And those are the areas in a drought situation where water would be drawn from to feed the public water supply. So you can see those parcels are encroaching upon the zone 1 and all within the zone 2. So this would be a great acquisition for the department for the protection of this well field.
It should have happened a long time ago.
Fingers crossed.
Can I ask a question on that, just for clarification, Dan?
Yeah.
So the two spots of red in between, there's a blank space. Is that already part of the water department, or is it something that down the road we might?
Yeah, so there's a large cluster of partially owned or owners unknown, including, so we have these 5. These, I would have to get back to you and see as to the ownership of those, the one in between. The 5 that are referenced here were originally slated for tax title taking, and we were approached by the Real Estate and Open Space Committee, given their proximity to our well field, if we had any interest. So I can follow up on the other ones for you.
No, thanks. I just for clarification. That's great. Thank you.
See if I can get the slide to change here. So on Article 24 is our new source exploration for the town water supply. The funds requested is $250,000. So I do have a few more slides for this article. And just because it really, I think, helps understand why we're asking to search for another source with all this information. So the water department's regulated on our annual pumping volumes and through individual wells. We have maximum daily volumes that we can pump at each well independently, and then we have a permitted withdrawal for the entirety of all our wells. So you can see in the chart here on the left, the red line at the top, hovering right around 800 million gallons, that's our permitted volume. So you can see in 2016 and 2015, we exceeded that permitted volume. The slides for this article were put together last year, so 2020 would also reflect an exceedance of our permitted volume. So we're in the process of renewing our Water Management Act permit. So part of that is requesting additional capacity. So we're trying to project our water consumption over the next 20-year cycle of our permit. So to do that, we need to look at our existing capacity. So we have 5 well fields, and you can see at the chart here on the right, I put here to give a better understanding of how many hours we have to pump these wells to reach the capacity that we need to provide to our residents during our peak season. So you can see the blue dotted line here is our 2017 peak day, which was 6 million gallons. So in that instance, our pumps were running in excess of 16 hours. On our 2010 peak day, our pumps were running in excess of 20 hours. So what a new source would do is ultimately lessen the burden on the 14 other water supply wells and really bring that runtime down. Because what we don't want to do is find ourselves in a situation where we need to pump 24 hours a day. It's just not sustainable. So another important component, is in what we really need this additional source for is meeting our peak demand. And meeting that demand is incredibly important because it accounts for about 52% of the revenue that we collect on an annual basis. So you can see that that's a very important billing quarter and demand that we have to meet. So here we have some growth statistics, just showing the continued increase in water demand. On the left here, we have an increase of account growth over the past 10 years of 3.6. So we've added 347 new water accounts from 2009 to 2018. Our water production shows a linear growth of approximately 2% on that same time period. And again, our water consumption from June to September, so that does go outside of our quarters, that brings our total peak annual demand up to 62%. So 62% of the water that we pump in a given year occurs during June through September. So for our new permit request, we requested an increase of 0.47 million gallons per day. So that brings us up to a 2.63 MGD permitted volume. Now we haven't been issued our permit yet. DEP is still really radio silent for most of the Cape water suppliers. But that's really what we need to meet, the trajectory that we're projecting. One of the other conditions that they're looking to impose is having us remove well 11 or pump well 11 at 25% capacity from January to June. So, from now through June is really when we start picking up our pumping volume. And there's a vernal pool adjacent to the well field. So should DEP move to impose that limitation, it would ultimately shift the demand to the other 13 wells in the water system, further extending their runtime. Providing another water source as well will help to improve this distribution system's redundancy. As the commission is aware, and was part of the reason we were looking to do exploration in T10 off of Northwest Gate Road, is presently all but one of our wells is situated below Route 6. So there's concern that, if there ever was a tractor trailer spill of some sort on the highway, there's the potential to pollute sources downstream of that event. So in this instance, we're looking to do another well source above Route 6 in the area of well 10. So that would give us additional capacity up above the highway. And then
I was trying to ask a question.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, I'm sorry, I was muted when I was trying to ask. But going back to your previous slide, with DEP trying to regulate well 11, that's been in the works for a while now, though, right? They've had that on the burner as far as they may or may not impose those restrictions?
Yeah, so I've had quite a few debates with them. So the permits were supposed to be renewed in 2010. We're 11 years past. And, they did file a Permit Extension Act. And when I came on board 6 years ago, the town had an order to complete, which is really a response document in the process of the Water Management Act permit. So through that and through the exchange of information between us and DEP, they brought up the potential that, or the concept of limiting withdrawal from that site. I vehemently opposed to what they're trying to do. I don't believe that there's justification. They're citing the location of the vernal pool and the condition of the vernal pool, yet they haven't sent anyone out to even inspect the vernal pool. What I can say is that the vernal pool existed in the 90s prior to the well being installed, and it still exists today. Depending on the precipitation events we get over the course of this winter and spring is really what drives the volume of water in that vernal pool. So that's a conversation that hasn't been resolved yet, but they haven't given me any additional information since those initial discussions.
Okay.
All right, if I can jump back here. So timeline for the new source. These are very lengthy projects. So should funding be approved this year, we would get into doing our initial well exploration. We'd be drilling test wells, conducting water quality samples, and start the permitting process. Depending on what we find and where we find it on the site, there could be a couple of different avenues to move forward with. What I'd like to do with the board is, after town meeting, if this article is approved, I'd like to bring in a consultant that I've made contact with who does well exploration, a lot of it, and have them kind of go over the different steps in the process and what we'd be looking at. In my conversations with them, you know, this can be a long process. There does have to be pretty extensive permitting and water quality analysis. There may be an opportunity to save some money on the water quality testing, given its proximity to well 10, because we have already done and do sample the water coming out of the ground right there. So we may be able to save some time and or money with that. But assuming all goes well, I would expect that we could see construction around 2024. So I'll keep going if there's no questions on that. So that goes into the next Article 25, which is funding for the design of the Route 28 water main replacement. So I have a slide here with just some project information. So we're looking to develop plans and specifications to replace approximately 1.75 miles of water main on Route 28 from Lower County Road to the Herring River Bridge. The existing water main was installed in 1936 and 1937 and suffered 6 catastrophic failure events since 2014, 5 of which occurred between the years of 2017 and 2019. Another issue on this section of water main is that we do have limited existing isolation valves, which result in geographically large areas of water service interruption when we need to go out and make repairs. The one instance on right at the bottom of Kildee Hill, we were out there for 23 hours and had to shut off, if I'm not mistaken, it was 27 gate valves to get that water main to shut down. The $500,000 request is proposed to be funded with water retained earnings, so this wouldn't be a loan or anything, would be seeking additional revenue to support debt with. That said, the estimated construction cost is estimated around $7.5 million, and that funding would be requested through a future town meeting article. Now, we anticipate right now the funding for that project would be done through the state revolving loan program. That said, I have hope that there'll be an infrastructure bill. There's conversation about it on the federal level right now, and assuming the project gets funded this year, the design gets funded, we would have a shovel-ready project pretty quick to take advantage of any federal monies that become available. So my hope is that that will be the latter will be the what actually takes place. And lastly, the Route 28 water main will further improve hydraulics in the area. I'm going to jump to the next slide because this kind of touches what I'm referring to. You recall a year or two ago, we did the Lower County Road project. As part of that, we did install some tapping sleeve and gates on the right side of the screen, these blue arrows. So there's Doan Way, and I believe it's Lincoln Village Road that are right there. That right now they're 2-inch water mains, and we put in a 6-inch T and gate to feed those, and we would be able to continue that and tie those back into Route 28 with the 6-inch water main and gate by completing this project. And this is the area, or project limits rather, so you can see the location of the breaks that we've had over the past couple years are really, you know, spread out to this one section here. And then immediately following this, Mass DOT does have a project on the other side of Herring River Bridge, which is on the left of the screen. So Mass DOT in 2024 is going to be paving from the Dennis line to the Herring River Bridge. So that would, if we can become a non-participatory in that project, we would extend this project all the way to the town line when DOT does their work as well. They are unfortunately stopping at the Herring River, and there isn't plans to connect to Harwich Port, so this unfortunately is on our own, if you will. The last article here we have is Article 26, which is a funding request for $50,000 to replace the generator located at Station 8. So The generator at Station 8 is important, not just because it serves one of our production wells, but it also provides backup power to the corrosion control facility. And that facility treats the well water from Station 8 and Station 9. So if we lose the generator at Station 8, we lose the entire well field. The known issues that would have been occurring at this property, we're getting recurring fail to start errors. So the generators, they have failed to start in exercising instances as well as in times of need for various conditions. There's also a recurring circuitry problem, which trips the electrical panel breaker in Station 8, and that ultimately causes all of the batteries that support starting the generator to die. So we do lose it on dead batteries. We lose it on, we've had block heaters fail. We also replaced, they're called mag pickups. So there's a number of mechanical failures we've had there as well. As well as we've experienced some significant rodent damage in that generator. Now that is a more difficult problem to fight in a well field than it would be in your home. We're limited in what we can use as far as, you know, we can't use poison to get rid of the rodents next to a drinking water well. So although it does get cleaned out regularly and serviced, they do find themselves in there and do happen to cause quite a bit of damage. And that is the final slide.
All right, do we have any questions about the articles for town meeting?
Nope.
All right, Dan.
Good
All right.
presentation.
Just a little refresher. It's been a while since we've talked about them. All right. Okay. Do you want me to jump on to the next topic?
Yeah, the rules and regs.
Yeah, so at our last meeting, we had a discussion about holding the public hearing for the water and wastewater rules and regulations. So we did get some information that you guys were waiting on. I did speak to legal counsel. We are not required to publish the regulations in their entirety in the newspaper, which is good because we would have bought the whole newspaper to execute that. Looking at the packet material, at the bottom of both of the ads, you can see a timeline laid out. So if the board would like to do a hearing the week of May 24th, we would be looking to post the legal ad. We'd need to get it to the Chronicle before noon on Monday. So it would be in the Chronicle for 2 full weeks, being the 14th and the 21st, and then having a public hearing the following week of the 24th. If we do keep with our Thursday schedule, that lands us on the 27th of May. And with respect to the hearings themselves, we will have to open and close. My understanding is we'd have to open and close the hearings independently of each other. We'd have to do one for the water and one for the wastewater. They could both be done in the same meeting. But as far as structuring that meeting, where the water regulations are, I would consider a lot more mature. And we've done water regulation hearings in the recent past, and there hasn't been any significant comment. I might recommend to do the water regulations first, scheduled it, say if we start at 1, we could start with the water regulations with a half hour later, a 1:30 start for the wastewater regulations. And I saying that just assuming that given the wastewater regulations are new, and wastewater is a hot topic in town, it would be much more probable to get public input. So I figured we'd give people more time and leave it open-ended with the wastewater regs, but I would defer to the board.
It sounds like a plan to me.
All right,
Yeah.
okay.
And will our board be enlarged by then too,
Yeah,
correct?
that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, because when's the elections?
Elections
Weekend.
next week?
May 18th.
Oh, May 18th rather, sorry. Not the-
May 18th.
Yep.
So first meeting, maybe the rule and regulation.
Yeah. 18th is a vote, huh? Yeah.
So I would ask if the board
Yes.
does want to move forward with that timeline. I don't know if a vote is required.
Yeah.
Or to set, what we do need to do is set a meeting date. One other thing I'd like to note with respect to the advertisement that was in the packet. I was talking to Sandy before, and she brought up a good idea. You know, the regulations require us to offer, you know, the public to provide written comment to be, you know, mailed to the Board of Water Wastewater Commissioners. We're considering also adding an email address so people could submit questions or comments electronically as well. You know, give people more opportunity for public input. So we'd like to
Okay.
include those in the advertisement as well. And what I would need from you is a date.
Can I ask one quick question,
Do you have
Dan?
them in by?
So, well, I guess, Gary, I would say the date was in reference to the date we want to hold the hearing. So if we were going to do Thursdays, you know, if everyone's schedule allowed for that Thursday, the 27th, if the board wanted to vote to do it on that day, we could publish that date in the paper.
Does this 27th work for everybody?
The Wednesday would be preferable.
We could do that as well. We will have met the 2-week advertising requirement that entire week, so we could do any day.
Yeah. Wednesday would be great for me. And
Alan,
just
does Wednesday the 26th work for you?
You asking me now? Yeah.
Alan?
Yeah, Wednesday's fine. What time
Yes.
would you,
Does Wednesday the 26th work? Okay.
what time would you do it?
Does 1 o'clock still work for everybody?
yeah, that day's wide open, whatever works for everybody.
Yeah, I'm fine with 1.
Dan, does that work?
Works for me. So if we set
Dan? All right.
if we do the, would you be on board for, as I mentioned, doing the water regulations for a 1 p.m. start and the wastewater regulations for a 1:30 start?
Yeah, sounds good.
Can I
That's
ask
fine.
one quick question? If you can hear me. Just since, you know, we're still in COVID, if somebody doesn't use a computer, but they do watch our local channel, right? Is there somewhere that they can go to physically read a packet?
Yeah, so I guess, is this more in a general question or specific to the rules and regulations?
No, general, just because I
general
know that there's some
Yeah,
seniors
so
especially that don't do computers.
we would be happy to provide, you know, anyone looking for information. All they have to do is call our office.
Okay.
You know, we do, yeah, if they're not using the internet, you know, they definitely have to make contact with us. Or they could, if they were looking for something to be mailed to them, would be happy to accommodate that as well.
Is there some way to run something on the cable channel?
Oh,
Just
for
an
the
announcement?
for the
Yeah,
hearing, yeah. So we will certainly do that with Channel 18,
yeah.
um, and you for the legal ad specifically. Or
I'm thinking for people that want to read the whole packet but don't have computer access.
oh, yeah. So right now we don't run the packet, um, as a per
I don't know
se.
if the community center is even open. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me think about that. How to get someone who isn't looking at a computer. I mean, they can certainly come here, and we would certainly print and provide anyone with that public information.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that, when they did the vaccination rollout, they found that there were a number of people, significant number, that don't have access to computers for,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe personal choice, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, couldn't
I'm just,
you, couldn't you include in the advertisement, paper copies available, wastewater department?
Yeah, and
No?
that
Yeah.
is included in there, and they would be, certainly available for pickup here, and with the regulations also at the clerk's office for review.
okay.
I think they could contact the clerk's office as well, but I don't know if Channel 18 that they run minutes like that. I can certainly ask.
Yeah, I just don't know if they're doing the whole, yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah. And for people also who, don't use computer, our agendas do also have with the go-to link, a phone number, so people can participate not through internet, through just using their telephone as well.
Right.
Yeah. It sounds like it's pretty well covered.
Good job.
All right, so as it stands now, we'll make a motion to hold a public hearing for water and wastewater rules and regulations and the rates. And
We're
the rates.
not ready for rates yet.
Rules and rates. Got it. On May 26th, beginning at 1 p.m. for water regulations and 1:30 p.m. for wastewater regulations.
All right, is there a second?
I have a second.
I'll take a roll call vote. Alan?
All right?
Judith?
Aye.
And it's an aye for myself. All right. Do you have anything else, Dan?
We can hold it. We're going to be meeting next week. Nothing important.
What's that?
On the 18th,
Okay.
is that
Let's see.
18th still good? Oh, wait a minute, yeah. No, that's,
I believe we had a placeholder for the 11th.
oh,
The
I wrote
11th or
down
12th.
the 12th. There we go.
12th.
Yep. That was
The
9,
12th at 9 a.m.
12th.
yeah. Do we need that?
We had that just in case something needed to be discussed out of town meeting.
Yeah, all right, yeah, let's leave it. Leave it for now, cancel it.
Does that day work, Dan, or did you want to
Yep.
move it to the 11th?
Nope, both work fine for me.
Okay.
Well, town meeting is on the 8th.
Yeah. When we get by that, after town meeting, just in case something comes up as far as the hearing coming up
The
after
town meeting
that.
is on the 8th.
Yeah, that's right. So, but if we
Okay.
I have anything to meet for, we'll just cancel that. All
All
right,
right, so the 12th it is at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, yeah. And at this point, unless there's a hitch,
Okay.
some kind of a hitch setting up the hearing on the 27th, we can resolve that.
Excellent.
Otherwise than that,
Okay.
Great.
All right. That sounds like a plan. Do we have anything under the commissioner's report?
no, I'm good.
Nothing?
I'm good.
All right. So a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second that.
And I'll take a roll call vote. Alan?
Aye.
Judith?
Aye.
All right. And it's a night myself. Thank you. And see you at town meeting on the 8th.
Great.
There you go. Okay.